Bigfoot, Bigfoot, roaming through the land. Bigfoot, Bigfoot, a hairy ape-like man.
Hello, my friends and fellow Bigfoot enthusiasts. Welcome to another episode of Bigfoot Today, the show that's all about Bigfoot. I'm your host, Stephen Major, and with me today is my co-host, Mitch the Man Johnson. How you doing, Mitch?
Better than I have a right to, Stephen. And this show is documenting that old dogs can learn new tricks, and I think you and I are getting better and better at this with each episode. So this will be the best episode yet. At least that's my theory. So we'll see.
I agree with you, and I'm really excited about the guests that we have today.
Yeah,
we have a couple of guys with us today from Chewelah, from the Chewelah Bigfoot research team. With us today is Bruce Trott and Bob Kinney, who are the founders of that organization. It's relatively new. I'm excited to have them on the show and hear what they've been doing up there in and around the Chewelah area. So with that, we'll take a short break, and we'll be right back.
This show is sponsored by Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC, your gateway to adventure, specializing in guided Bigfoot expeditions to Alaska and throughout the Pacific Northwest and Canada.
Well, welcome back, my friends. And now it's time for What's New in Bigfoot. Well, Mitch, what's new in Bigfoot today?
A lot. I mean, there's just every week I think, well, maybe that's all. And then there's just more and more things come up on a daily basis. So let's just jump right into it. And,
well, what do you got? Let's hear it.
I'll look at the first slide that you have, A on there. And just really quickly, last week I talked about the tracks that Mount Rainier had put there, and I think there was some misunderstanding. Yes, I know they're double bear tracks, but it's the best way to say is it's important to know what other things are. So when you see it, you go, oh, well, that's Bigfoot. No, it's a bear track. Period. End of story. Right here. And like I said, that's all I wanted to say. Make sure that's very clear. I think last time I cut that short a little bit. I knew they were bear and all that. There's a lot of toes there, but when you see it like that. Next slide is, and this is another reason why it's important to know your sounds and your things, your symbols, is you don't want this to happen to you. You know, you want to know what bears sound like. So, okay, enough of that. Next slide. I'm going to have this book review, very brief. And when I first saw this book, I'll be honest, I was kind of like, I didn't get the point of it, just a bunch of stories. But one of the consistent things in the area of Bigfoot is people, they're not upfront with their experiences. They keep it close to the vest.
Yeah.
They don't want to be shamed or whatever. According to Steve's story here, is his grandfather was a decorated war hero in World War II, and it wasn't until I don't know, he was much, much older, like 90 years old, before he even told anybody about it. The guy's in World War II, and he's worried about what people think of him. But anyway, there's just this kind of this overlying thing. It's a good book. It's got a lot of good reviews, but you have to realize what it is. There are short narratives written in the first person, and some of the criticisms of the book has been, well, it's too raw, it's too this. Well, truthfully, that's what I want. I want something that's raw because I want to hear it from, so to speak, the horse's mouth. And people are now with this book and with his show, some people like, some people, but he's got a lot of likes, it helps people realize, oh, well, maybe now I can talk a little bit about my Sasquatch experience from 40 years ago or whatever. So from that point of view, it's a good book. It's an easy read. You can just pick it up and, read one short story.
So I got to ask you, is the book is a compilation of people's stories about their sightings? Yeah.
Each one is someone described as an anthology, but it's whoever experienced it. It's in their own words. So the style of writing will change as you read the different stories.
Are they historical stories? I mean, is it like stuff going back to the 40s, 50s? Is it recent? Is it?
I would say it's more recent because these people are still alive. And like one was like, oh, thank you. This is finally now I'm okay. This happened 40 years ago, and I'm not happy. I wasn't comfortable. I shouldn't say happy doing that. So, it's just definitely recent things. It's and the style of it is just, like I said, very raw. There really was, someone mentioned, well, they didn't put any work into it. No, because they would have screwed up what they were trying to accomplish to show that everybody anyone who's experienced Sasquatch, it's a little. They tell their story a little bit different.
Well, yes,
and it makes it more human.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, for some people it's very traumatic. Some it's it depends on
Yeah, it just
how
depends
they feel about it.
So
does the day Sasquatch became real for me by Steve Isdell? Does he have a story in there that he shares?
It was about his dad.
It was about his dad, but not
no.
him
I'm sorry, not his grandfather. I'm sorry, I misspoke there.
His grandfather.
His grandfather, and here he is. I mean, he looked up to his grandfather, a war hero, and then when he relays his experiences, close encounter with Bigfoot.
So he's talking about his grandfather's experience.
Yeah. Then
my question is, does he have an experience that he relates in the book?
No, not really. Not so much in this one. Little bits and pieces here and there. But
okay. So you enjoyed the book, The Day Sasquatch Became Real for Me.
Right.
I guess check it out. Mitch
Check it out.
It's
It's not that expensive. It just depends. But just like I said, there's lots of Sasquatch stories and all that stuff. He has put it in published form, but
wonderful.
I mean, it's worth the money, from that point of view.
Well, we'll check it out. What you got next?
What's on the next slide here? Let's see. Okay. So
what is this?
I know. Now you've known me long enough. Stop and just listen.
Okay.
First question: have you ever considered buying an electric bike?
No.
Okay. By the time I'm done with you here, you're going to want to go buy one right away. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So I'm just going through Facebook, and this picture pops up along with some other ones, and I'm like, okay, it's an electric bike and all this. And then I've got them all printed out here, but the bottom line is a lot of Sasquatch enthusiasts, Bigfoot searchers, they're saying, oh my gosh, I've always thought that this would be a great tool to go after Bigfoot, because they don't hear you coming, and the guy that's built this one, it's more as a hobby, because with COVID, he's not as busy as he usually is. I mean, he can get it where, you got serious torque. I mean, you're going to be able to...
my question is, how fast does it go?
According to I'm sure it depends on how you build it, because it would be the gear ratios.
Okay.
His final conclusion is there's a lot of do-it-yourself videos, but he would be a great resource for people. But yeah, it would depend on what you wanted to do.
You did see the movie Exists, right?
No.
About the Texas Bigfoot, and the guy's on the mountain bike, and Bigfoot sees him, and he's trying to get away, and he's pedaling as fast as he can, and he doesn't make it. And that Sasquatch just runs up there, and they kind of intersect.
Right.
Yeah.
And
so
I'll get
this
into
thing would have to go faster than that guy could pedal for me.
No, we're going to need a team. When you and I do it in the future, it's probably 2 years away. Steven's laughing, but you watch.
Yeah, well, take a look at this bike.
I'll bet you all on a nickel that Steven's going to be right there along with me. But then we're also going to have a team of 4 or 5 people as a contingency, because this thing just ain't going to outrun a mountain lion, a grizzly, no way in hell. So there's a lot more planning. We're not just going to go jump on the bike this afternoon.
Okay.
But a lot of people were saying how they thought that was very good to, for Sasquatch, because it's quiet and stealthy and stuff.
And environmentally safe.
And environmentally safe. Well, they don't hear you coming. Now, the person whose Facebook post is Doug Hijack, who I've got 9 pages of what he's done. He's been producing. He's done 200 TV features since 1987.
About Bigfoot?
No, just everything.
Oh,
Right now he's doing something with giant squid. He's got some images that the eyeballs like the size of a basketball. And then when you start looking at his stuff, he's not bullshitting. He's got the technology and all this stuff that he's using. Yeah. So anyway, and so I'm kind of going like this, and yesterday, and this just came up yesterday, and so I was asking him some questions. What's the price? Is it $20,000? And if you got something fully loaded, it's like $3,000. Okay,
$3,000 for a bike?
No, for what he's talking about here. But anyway, and so one of the things he sent to me last night, and I'm just going to read it to you. He goes, Mitch Johnson, imagine driving down a forest double track at 2 a.m. with an infrared dash cam. Imagine having a small Bluetooth...
Okay, now I can see where you're going with this.
Imagine having a small Bluetooth speaker playing the sounds of a dying rabbit, an owl, or a deer running for its life. Also think about this sound traveling at 14 miles per hour through the forest. Anything could happen. All creatures use trails to save energy. The art of surprise is powerful. Picture an all matte black finish bike and you in the same clothing. Think about a push-button instant-on aircraft lighting system. So the constant record dash cam system instantly switches to 4K color record mode. The range
okay,
is,
now I'm interested.
yeah,
All
I knew
right,
that
I'm
was going to get you.
interested.
And I
Okay.
said the range is 70 miles on a full charge.
It's a James Bond bike.
There you go. Rough cost about $2,900. Camera system will be hardwired footage. Yeah, and GPS and on
Okay,
and on.
Well, that sounds great, but we're running out of time.
I know. That's
Yeah.
the problem.
What else we got?
Okay,
real
so
quick
next
before we
slide.
hop into our movie review.
We're going to another. Okay, so big world, big news. Save the date. That's all I want you to do right now. Save that date, June 18th and 20th. It's Medellin Falls Bigfoot Festival and Film Awards. As you can see there, info at exnorthwest.com. If you want to be added to our mailing list, so to speak, of as this develops, shoot us an email and we can include it. There's a lot of stuff and way beyond what we can do here. So that being said, the next slide.
Okay.
Now,
Sasquatch,
if you're not from
2000.
around the state of Washington, this is not, did I say not? This is not the Sasquatch Music Festival that is at the Gorge at George. Yes, George Washington.
Oh, I've heard of that. Never been there. That's just a music
It's
festival.
a beautiful location for concerts and everything else. This is not it. This is a whole new thing, totally different. So, okay, next start.
Okay.
Really quickly, and I we have fun with a lot of stuff here, and I know I speak for Stephen that if you are suffering from any of the pandemic shutdowns, either financially or with your health, you are in our prayers. There's nothing funny about that. That's what I hate about all this other bullshit on TV. They make jokes, Jimmy Kimmel, he's making jokes about shutdowns. No, you dumbass, people are really losing their jobs. There's nothing funny about that. Now, on this event, we are going to follow the guidelines of the International Well Building Institute.
I
There's
see
their
where you're going with
website.
this.
And that's why you want to be on our mailing list, because we're going to do it so that everyone is safe, whatever the situation is in June. So that being said, yes, we're aware of that. Okay, next slide.
Okay.
I think this is the last one. Okay, same thing there. I loved the movie show Twin Peaks. And when you break it down, it's the actual physical location of the fictional town of Twin Peaks is Medellin Falls.
Okay. I always thought Twin Peaks was a small town in Alaska or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I never watched the show. So,
Yeah.
I never watched it. So I didn't really know.
And you
about
do want to? You want
Yeah.
to? Because part of the event, we will have trivia contests based on Twin Peaks. And we're working with some sponsors now, so for some really good prizes if you win the trivia contest. So watch Twin Peaks, but we'll talk about it as we get closer.
Well, for me, I never watched Twin Peaks, but the most significant film that I knew that was made in Medellin Falls was The Postman with Kevin Costner. Everybody remember that,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what I remember about
And
it.
here it's my notes say the movie 1993 movie Benny and June. That was with
That was in Spokane.
I don't know.
Or maybe they filmed some
Maybe
parts
part
up
of it
there.
was there.
Well-
And then just really quickly here's just a quote from the movie. The FBI special agent, not in the movie, but the TV series
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Agent Cooper, he says, and he's always speaking into his recorder. He notes to his tape recorder that he's arrived in town, located 5 miles south of the Canadian border and 12 miles west of the state line. That's Medellin Falls. So.
Okay, if you say so. Wonderful. Okay, well, thanks for bringing us up to date on what those new events are. And real quickly, I would like to talk about our film review for the week. And what we have here is we did have an opportunity to preview the most recent film by the Irish Bigfoot Boys. And it's called The Woodwalls, Walking with the Wild Man 2. And that stars Jim Bradley, Chris Dawson, Ron Madden. And I was surprised to hear, but it was great. The film is narrated by our very own Brent Thomas, host of the Paranormal Portal from up there in northern Idaho. It's a great film. I'd appreciate you if you check it out. Like I said, it's I still have a hard time buying into Bigfoot in Ireland, but I should say buying into it. But, you know, you just don't think about it. But I just want to play the trailer for you real quick and get Mitch's thoughts. So let's run the trailer here. Well, Mitch, what do you think of the film?
I think it's great. I'm going to go back and watch it. But you got to remember, I grew up with Jacques Cousteau, Jane Goodman, you know, real documentaries, not fake bullshit. And it's like, oh, wow. And it's definitely set in a documentary style. And before I watched it, I did look up the Woodwoes or whatever you say, because I just want to get a point of reference. It is not the Irish Bigfoot. It's just for the mouth breathers out there that can't understand anything. That's just what they kind of coin it. They've never claimed it was Sasquatch. They've never claimed it was Bigfoot, but it's has a lot of similarities. It's smaller in stature.
And what this is called the Woodwoes?
Woodwoes.
Is that what you're saying? You did some background check.
Well, just a little bit. I mean, the documentation goes back to like the 8th century.
Yeah.
And one thing that was interesting, now, for anybody out there with the last name of Woodhouse, your name came from this. So I don't know if that means you're related or not. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of history to this. And yes, there's similarities of it with the Sasquatch. And I really enjoyed it. It just makes you think about a lot of different things.
You know, I didn't do a lot of background on what the Woodwoes was. I just took the film title for what it was, but I really enjoyed their first film. But I really, really like these guys.
Yes.
Because I think they do a great job in making a film, and they're very methodical in their research that they do, which I really enjoyed. Yeah. And they always have a killer soundtrack. I mean, the first one was good, and this one is good too.
This one was good, yeah.
I encourage you all to check it out. Once again, that is the Woodwoes, Walking with the Wild Man 2. And that's narrated by Brent Thomas of the Paranormal Portal. And by the way, Brent happens to be in our studio audience today, and we're glad to have him here. And we've got more to talk about that later. So
perfect.
Great. Well, that's what's new in the movie review. So it's time for a short break, and we'll be right back, and we'll bring in our guests, Bruce Trott and Bob Kinney from the Chewelah Bigfoot research team. See you in a bit.
This show is sponsored by the Private Money Store Incorporated. They specialize in private real estate lending for commercial or business purposes in Washington State.
Well, welcome back, my friends. And it's time to bring in our guests, Bruce Trott and Bob Kinney, founders of the Chewelah Bigfoot research team. How about a big Bigfoot Today welcome for these folks to the show? Yeah. Glad to have you guys. Well, thanks for coming in the show. And also, we still have Mitch the Man Johnson with us, who's coming to us from it appears to be a warehouse somewhere.
Yes, just
what's up with that, Mitch?
Well, you know, the rent was good, as long as you don't mind crawling through the window. And yeah, so I'm just across the street, doing well.
Excellent. And that's a wonderful hat you have there.
Yes.
You're looking very dapper.
Ties into our Irish movie. Yeah.
Oh,
it's definitely from Ireland. So
nice. Well, you guys, once again, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
You bet. You bet. And you know, I always like to start out with the first question for a guest, and we'll start with you, Bruce. Is what got you into Bigfoot?
Well, I never really believed in Bigfoot until I seen it for the first time. I was 13 years old in 1975, and I was up Hell's Gulch in St. Mary's, Idaho.
Oh, I know that. I know that area. Keep going.
And I heard this racket coming through the creek, and I thought, well, it's Tex, my neighbor Tex's bull, and I usually run it back to his place for him. And I pushed back the brush, and I walked through the creek and looking for the bull, and then all of a sudden the brush just went back like this, and I was looking straight at Bigfoot. I'd say he was 13 yards away. Wow. And I'm like, and I just, holy crap, that is not a bear. And I watched it walk across 10 acres of alfalfa, and it did it pretty quickly, too. I mean, 10 acres, for us, we'd be walking for a while. This thing just, and headed for the timber. But what happened was when it looked at me and I looked at him, he kind of went like this with his head, like a dog would do when he hears a weird sound. And then he just turned and walked away. And then I decided I heard him walking away, so I knew that, you know, I could see him better. And I got on the other side and I watched him walk all the way across the field there, alfalfa, and it only was that high.
Yeah. Were you scared?
When I noticed that its arms were longer, you know, its fingertips was like below its knee.
Yeah.
And it strided, very fluent, just, and it was gone.
And you said when you first saw it, you're like 13 feet away?
I was about 13 feet away.
Wow, that's close.
That's a close-up.
Oh, yeah. I looked it right in the face, and it looked me right in the face, and he's stunned more than I was, I think.
Well, that's a close encounter.
That is a close encounter.
And I'm like, oh, by God, they do exist. And so I started following, I started reading books on the subject and studying it. And
so you got going right from the get-go after that experience.
Right from the get-go, yeah. And then later, about 16, my dad staked some mining claims up around Pritchard and Murray.
Yeah.
And we had multiple encounters up there as well. But I don't want to tell too many of my stories because I'd like to share them with you, but like just one or two.
Yeah, we just like to get an idea where you're going. I got to tell you what's significant. So you grew up in St. Mary's, that area out there?
No, I was just staying up there over the 4th.
Okay, because I had no idea about that. Your experience there, but I will tell you, back in 2014, when I first started getting into the Bigfoot research thing and that, I advertised for people to please send me any encounter reports that they have, and the first thing I got was a photo of some tracks in some frost on some lumber, actually a footprint and a handprint on a guy's property out there, and it was weird. His story was that there was something that was scaring his dogs, and they were afraid to go out the back of the house. And he would hear this hooting and this hollering and stuff out there that was kind of freaky, and he went out there and he took some photos, and he actually emailed them to me. And I wish I had them. I totally forgot I got those. But there's a beautiful handprint where on the frost where a warm hand he had this big stack of lumber and something he was going to build, and there was a handprint, and then you could also see where it's actually stepped up and walked on the lumber that was stacked up. Then he went out there. But that's interesting. We've got a few other ones. Well, Bob, tell me about your experience.
I was I was in the Boy Scouts back in the mid-'60s, and I was heard about the Calaveras County monster, and I was in the Boy Scouts. But that was good to me. I was kind of skeptical about Bigfoot, but in the last 5 years, I've been a lot of times with Bruce, and we went up into the woods and seen and heard stuff I can't explain. And as far as I've seen was trees broken off. Me and my friend went up into the woods up at the backside of 49 degrees north, and we parked our van right next to this turnout area, and if you see no broken trees, then we walked up the road about a quarter mile. We heard a snap. It was pretty distinct. And we go, okay. When we headed back down to the van, which was really interesting, and then we saw this tree freshly snapped off. It was a green tree. It had no signs of rot, and it was broken probably about 9 feet up. And then we found that footprint there.
So, and when was that?
That was about a year ago.
About a year ago. So, so you've only been really into the Bigfoot thing for about the last year, you guys?
Yeah.
Yes, I haven't really been into it as long-term as Brute Trott, and I have not been as lucky to have a real good encounter like that. Yeah. But there's one time we were up at Phillips Lake, we saw multiple tree snaps, and I heard a distant scream. Yeah. And Bruce heard it too.
Now, I know you guys get out a bit and do a lot of camping and things like that. Now, you founded the Chewelah Bigfoot research team just this last year.
Yeah,
is that correct?
We started in 2020, yeah.
In 2020. And you guys are the founding members of that, and do you have any other folks you're working with?
We have a couple friends that are in,
Yeah, Joe Wendt is a researcher also with us. Yeah. And then he's also a researcher, and I'm a researcher. And we get out all the time because they're right in our backyard up there in Chewelah.
Yeah, I hear a fair amount about that.
Most of our activity comes from the backside of 49 degrees north on the backside of the ski lodge there.
Yeah. Now you have I've got you have a track here. You didn't bring it, but I have a photo of it, and I want you to tell us about this. And let me pull it up here, and tell us about your track there.
Well, that's the track that we found next to the tree that he was talking about, where he broke.
That's the one that was where we parked the van when I said we heard that tree snap, and he got down and saw that fresh tree snap, and that's where that foot was probably about
and
5 feet from the base of the tree.
It was about 4.5 to 5 feet from where the tree was snapped, and the road, it kind of went rocky, and then kind of went into the forest, and then there was that track was just, you could see it was a Bigfoot track. So I made a couple of casts earlier, and I ran out of casting material when I found this track, and so it came out kind of thin, and when I pulled it from the ground, it kind of cracked and broke, and I'm like, shit.
But we did see some tracks that were adjacent to the bank there that was right next to the road. It looked like the toes were digging into the side of the bank.
Yeah. Joe found that, and then I went up and researched it, and there was 2 sets of tracks, and it went up the side of this clay kind of sandy bank and headed right into some thick timber, and I believe it was a mama and a juvenile.
Yeah.
And they were going uphill. There was 32 inches between the heel and toe, and we tried to mimic climbing that, and we couldn't do it without falling down.
Yeah. What time of year was this again?
That was about June.
You said it was about June, July in that time.
Yeah, June or July, yeah. And,
what do you think? Do you have any speculations of why that area is there's so much activity? I mean, is there?
There's a lot of game. There's creeks, streams.
So food, water.
Okay.
A lot of elk in that area.
Elk, moose, deer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with your group, are you contemplating or thinking about, for lack of a better term, hosting some expeditions? So city slickers such as myself who like to go out and go camping. And then, hey, I'd love to go out for 3 or 4 days and kind of go into the middle there. So you're doing that now, or you're going to be doing it soon?
We're going to kick it in gear a little bit and do a lot more research and camping next summer.
Yeah, this last summer there was a lot of interruptions
with COVID and all.
Oh gosh,
that's caused problems for us and everything.
Yeah.
So. Well, good luck with that part. I think there's a lot of people out there would like to have that opportunity.
Oh, since I've been sporting my signs on my car, I got people coming out of Heiko. I get my coffee in the morning at Heiko, and they're like, "Hey, I got a story for you." And I'm like, "Okay, we'll take down my number and we'll do an interview." And then they don't follow through with the interview. But this one guy said he had some activity up on Dunn Mountain, and I think that's where that Hobbit guy from
we were at Madeline Falls with the guy that had the Hobbit.
Oh yeah, the Hobbit man.
Interesting pictures.
I really enjoyed speaking with him. He came to the Madeline Bigfoot Town Hall meeting.
Yeah, right on the backside of was a Dunn Mountain.
Yeah,
which is right near Addy.
Okay. I was going to ask where Dunn Mountain is now. I know where Addy is. And that's
it took us a while to find it because there's a South Dunn Mountain and a North Dunn Mountain, but we finally found where we was supposed to be, and we didn't see any evidence, but other than the fact there was apple trees, there was water, and deer tracks all over the place. So it could sustain a creature of that size.
Right. Well, you'll feel bad if a lot of people don't follow through with interviews because, like I said, and like Mitch mentions, a lot of people they're apprehensive about it. Who they're going to share their story with, and whether they're going to be ridiculed for it or not.
Yeah,
right.
But you have some signs on your car. What do you have?
Chewelah Bigfoot Research Team.
No kidding.
Yeah. People come up to me, just, hey man, start talking Bigfoot. It's really great.
Right.
It's amazing to me. People will tell you
they walk
the
right up to
affair
me.
they had that led to the divorce, the legal troubles their kids have. But oh no, I'm not going to talk about Bigfoot. That's just too. It's just a weird phenomenon going on now.
Yeah. What Well, I have to ask you this too. You kind of shared with me what your most significant experience was with Sasquatch, which got you into that. But you mentioned Pritchard in Pritchard, Idaho. Now, when about was that when you were having some of those?
We had the gold mine for 23 years. It was a placer mine.
Yeah.
Just placer mining, surface stuff.
Okay.
And we had it for 23 years, and we started getting encounters right from the get-go. But they didn't come quite into our camp for about 13 years. It took them to get used to us being there.
So they actually came into your camp?
They would come into my camp. And I wish I would have got it on recording one time. There was 4 of them squatting down around a fire, and they were putting pine needles on the fire when it'd die out. And when it'd flare up, they'd stand back and go, ooh. And I'm looking out my window, and I'm just afraid to go outside. I didn't have a camera, but I could see the silhouette when the flame would come up. There was 4 of them squatting around the fire, messing with the fire.
No kidding.
It was scary.
What year was this?
That was probably about 88.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is incredible experience.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We've had them throw rocks at us and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I was born in the Silver Valley, so I know the area where you're at, and I spent a lot of time up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, up in the Pritchard area.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, we would hear people talk about rumors of running into Sasquatch and Bigfoot and stuff. I didn't think much of it, at that time, because until the Legend of Boggy Creek came out, that
was my favorite movie.
That scared me to death.
I always believe the real Sasquatches are a docile creature. Yeah. They're not like a monster. I'm sure there are ones that have an attitude. I'm sure there are ones that are not real friendly because they maybe not in the mood, or they're just a different strain of like a human race. We all have people with different personalities. But for the most part, their intelligence, their intellect, and their telepathy seem to...
So telepathy?
Yeah, they seem to amaze me about how they are so acute and tuned in about who's around
nature
them.
And everything. They're just in tune with nature, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think most of them are dangerous. I think if they get upset with you, you upset them somehow. You either cross their barrier, getting too close to where they're laying down, or you did something to piss them off, because they just don't get angry for no reason.
Yeah, I definitely believe that they're sensitive beings, and I think you can sense whether you're encountering some people that are good people or bad people or danger or things of that nature.
They sense it.
I think they do. I really think they do. Just like a dog.
Just like a dog.
But I go in the woods. I don't have any fear of that. One time when I heard that scream and saw those broken off trees, I had a sense of peace in my heart. I did not have any fear. It did not scare me, even though the scream kind of did a little tickle in the back of my neck. But I didn't feel any. I was not afraid of anything.
Yeah,
I felt.
So it
peace.
wasn't not a frightening experience, because some people it's a traumatic, frightening experience. Then I've had a few people say that they've had a peaceful experience.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like what you have.
Yeah, I want to start getting into having gifting stumps. And once I know if it's a Sasquatch in the area, then I'll pick out a stump and I'll leave them a gift.
Do you leave them marbles?
I haven't done that yet. I want to, though. I've read about people doing that, and they leave them gifts, like rocks and stuff. And I thought, oh, shit, might as well try it.
Yeah, I've read quite a bit about, people that have it's a theory. I mean, because they'll leave things and they'll be gone, and so it must have been Bigfoot.
Give them a gift, and they gift you back, I understand.
I got a story that happened up on our gold mine, and this happened three years in a row. During 4th of July, my mom would bake a carrot cake, and we'd eat part of the carrot cake, but we'd leave it out on the table, and Bigfoot would come in and take that pan up to the cedars, and he'd eat that carrot cake. And you know how I know it was Bigfoot?
I would love to. How?
There was no teeth marks in the pan, no scratch marks in the pan, but 5 big fingers scooping out the cake, and left the big 5 fingers right in the bottom of the cake pan. 3 years in a row at 4th of July.
Where did you find some tracks and stuff too to go along with that, or what?
No, because it was like there was a lot of rocky ground, you know, like walking next to a creek is
Yeah.
a lot of boulders and rocks and stuff. But I got smart, though. I went up to the Jack Wade mine, and I got to pick a load of sand. And I went down, and I did a whole area about from here to the wall, just sand on the road. And I didn't have any casting material, but many times I'd rake that before I went to bed. And the next morning, there would be some Sasquatch tracks in the sand.
Well, you're gonna have to take me up there, Mitch.
Oh,
let's
I
go.
want
totally.
to get you guys up there.
No, I really,
I'm serious. I want to get you guys up there. I'll
my
show
question,
you proof.
I was just kind of waiting for a break, so maybe this is the time. I keep hearing stories from people, or people I know well, and
Yeah.
and I'm with you. It doesn't seem like they're violent, but anyway, what are some of the things that you think might increase their curiosity? For example, a friend of mine, they were up in North Idaho, and they're having a big celebration for the grandparents' 50th anniversary, and they were taking glow sticks, and then having them on helium balloons. So it was very interesting. So
Yeah.
if I was a Sasquatch and I was curious, I would probably go check it out, and sure enough, that's in that cap. But so we know possibly carrot cake. I've never heard of anything about the campfire.
They like harmonicas.
Really?
Yeah, I play
From what you've
harmonica.
heard? Interesting.
And a lot of times they've came in to check it out, and of course
Do you
we
think
couldn't
it's
see them.
objects or food? Maybe both, I suppose.
I understand they like Snickers.
Oh, remember that
Yeah,
time we
I'm
were
just
up
curious.
at Red Marble?
But I would totally want to check it out. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. I'd like to get you up there.
Well, this leads me to another question with these kind of experiences in interaction. Have you ever heard them any vocalizations and try to communicate with you, or make noises, or anything like that?
They chatter quite often up what I call the cedars. And years ago, I actually found a woven mat, and it was on a plateau overlooking the creek, and there was a pile of rocks, and each rock was about 3 inches and about that thick, and they were stacked neatly. And then there was a woven mat made out of cedar strips, and then there was a log pulled in there, just like he was setting up a living room furniture. And the tree, there was no stump. He drug in the tree from somewhere. It was that big around, about 16 feet long, and I think he was just using that to sit on.
Did you ever see a Sasquatch sit on it?
I have seen Sasquatch up there, yeah.
Okay, did you see him sit on the mat?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay. One thing you may not be aware of, and I'm just going to throw this out because that's a skeptic in me. Having grown up in the Silver Valley
Yeah.
in the 70s, and especially in the late 60s and 70s,
Mm-hmm.
there were a large number of hermits that lived out in the wood.
Hermits.
Oh, yeah.
In the area around there. We had a lot of them. That's why I have
really?
to be significant on that.
Yeah.
Because there were a fair amount of them that lived up in the hills around the Silver Valley and DeWallace area and Pritchard and things like that. And it was in the 60s and 70s. And
Won't be down.
we'd have encounters with them hunting and whatnot. And we kind of knew they were there. So I think that's a point. I have
Well,
to
that's a
ask.
new one on me.
Yeah. So I kind of have to ask on that. I'm interested though. You said chatter. You said you heard some chatter.
Yeah, they just
What-
chatter weird. It's like a jumbled up. You can't really make out what they're saying.
Yeah.
And there was more than one, and they just would chatter back and forth. And
Would you
kind
say
of a
chatter? I
mumble.
mean, could you compare it to something like monkeys talking, or
That's what I was thinking, kind of like a
baboonish
apes
kind
or-
of the primate
Primates, yeah.
sounding? I guess that would be a better term.
Oh, another thing I got to say is Jane Goodall. I learned from Jane Goodall how to call them into camp, and it's like this.
You learned that from Jane Goodall.
Well, she sent me a thing showing how
Oh.
she communicates, and it's like, and that means friendly visit with the gorillas. And so I started doing
Wow.
that. I started doing that.
Now that's
Yeah, remind me of
interesting.
the
And they'd
Girls
come
of
right
the Mist
into
movie
camp.
about her.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd
You
come
just said they'd come right into camp when you
Yeah.
did that?
Yep.
Wow.
And a lot of times I play the Sierra sounds, and then I wait 15 minutes, and then I do a wood knock. And then I heard 5 wood knocks, and they were all spread out about a quarter of a mile apart, and I was on top of a mountain. And then I did a whoop, and I got 5 whoops. And then there was a 6th one right behind us, and it threw a rock at our camper, and I got a dent in my camper. To this day, I could show you.
Somebody must have been angry with you.
We was picking their huckleberries. We got 10 gallons of huckleberries that weekend, but yeah, we left after that rock hit our motorhome and almost took out a bay window. It just missed the bay window. We were like, we got to get out of here. So,
holy cow.
So when you said that they come into camp,
yeah.
I mean, did they just come up like to the motorhome and knock and say, "Hey, we're going to steal your"?
No.
I mean, I know.
No, they got so used to me, they would tap on my window.
Oh, really?
I'd shut the lantern off, and I'd hear.
Wow.
So I'd get up, get dressed, light my lantern, open the door. Yeah, who is it? Nobody there. I'm like, what the hell? So I got smart, and I just cracked the. Well, first I went up to my mom and dad, and I said, just look through binoculars, and when you see my light flare up, you tell me what you see crossing the road. So I went back down to camp with my 7mm mag on my back because I went.
Oh, so you carried firearms?
Oh yeah, I did. Oh yeah. We had grizzlies and all kinds of crap up there, but I walked back down to my camp, and I turned my lantern down just to where it almost went out, and then I heard, and I cranked it up, and my dad said he just seen it like an ape just across the road and up into the hills.
Holy cow.
So,
this is
yeah.
all up around the Pritchard area.
Yep.
Now, did you ever report any of this information to anybody like the BFRO or anybody like that?
Yeah, I did, and they thought I was goofy.
They thought it was
because
goofy?
I had too many stories.
Oh.
And they didn't believe my stories.
Okay.
But these
I
stories...
just want to stop there for one second and make an observation. BFRO is a 4-letter word. That's all I'm saying. I'm learning a lot more from people.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a different show.
Yeah.
So
well, we had the waterworks tore right out of the creek.
Yeah.
A 3x3 by 3 foot box, a screening box, and we had a 3-inch pipe, and then it went down the stream to a 2-inch, to a 1.5, and then to a garden hose. And one morning, Mom's making coffee, and she got the coffee pot full, and she turned around, and then all of a sudden the water just quit running. So when we got up and had our coffee, we went up to the water, what we called the waterworks. It was ripped out of the creek and thrown about 12 yards up on the bank. And so we called the Forest Service. And the Forest Service guy come up, and he says, well, I'll tell you one thing. It was no bear that did that. And I'm like, me and my dad goes, you believe in Bigfoot? And he goes, there's all kinds of unconfirmed sightings right up in this area. But he says, I can neither confirm nor deny.
That's a Forest Service guy.
Yeah, but he's worked for the Forest Service government. He's not going to admit that he'd be afraid of losing his job,
Well, I hear that a bit. I want to get back to something you mentioned. Now, you corresponded with Dr. Jane Goodall?
Years ago, like back in 1980. And I wanted to see if there was anything I could do to communicate. And so she sent me a video of her in the, Congo or some goddamn place she was at, and showed how they talk to the apes.
I think that's just incredible that you reached out to her. You must have really had an interest in that.
Oh, she believes in Bigfoot.
Yeah, I see that she made a pronouncement about, Jane Goodall made a pronouncement about, her belief in the existence of Sasquatch here in the last couple of years, which I think is huge to get someone of that caliber, to admit that certainly they exist, or may exist. In your from your experiences on that, I've got to ask you, what do you, in your opinion, I'm going to start with you, what's your theory? What do you believe Bigfoot is? Or Sasquatch? What do you believe it actually is?
Gigantopithecus.
Gigantopithecus, okay. You hear that one quite a bit.
I truly believe it's Gigantopithecus. There's all kinds of theories out there.
Yeah.
Some of them are way bizarre, but it fits in my mind frame where it's simply just a missing link or from man's evolution and something that branched off of our evolution.
Is a Gigantopithecus, is that, I've heard the term, is that a primitive humanoid, or is it an ape? Or
kind of a cross between a human and an ape.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what, I'm drawing a blank. John Meldrum, that's what he believes it is too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Bob?
Yeah, I believe in the same lines that Bigfoot is a very intelligent creature. It's more, and I know that gorillas are pretty smart and everything, but there's a different level of intelligence with the Sasquatch. Plus, they walk more upright than the gorillas do. So I believe, like when Bruce says, they are part of a human. I believe, and there's some kind of a offshoot of the human race at times.
Yeah.
Know, as I see it, but they're kind of have their own genetics. But they are kind of a branch off of our race and the gorillas, and I think they're unique in that way. They have a different set of intelligence that, you know, we are just starting to comprehend. You know, and I believe what it is. You don't know what you don't know. That's why I believe. You know, I know they're out there because I've heard them. I've seen the signs. I haven't had the little caliber of encounters that Bruce has, of course, because. You know, I just know that from my experiences that I've seen some stuff and heard some things that are pretty, you know, parallel to what they sound like and what I've seen of them. And those footprints that I saw in the snow that one time was kind of hard to explain.
Yeah. Well, that leads me to another question. I mean, given the number of encounters that you've had and the evidence that you have found, and many, many other people as well. You know, we've never, up to this point, it hasn't been established that Bigfoot truly exists definitively.
Right.
In your opinion, starting with you, what do you think it's going to take?
It's going to take one of us teams to put one down on a slab and get evidence, because the government, they've already got probably half a dozen of them off Mount St. Helens, and they found some Bigfoot that were burnt real bad. They were still alive, and the government came in and flew them out in helicopters. They took them somewhere, and so the government knows more about it than they're letting on. And yeah,
do you think the government controls Bigfoot?
No, I don't. I hear this one theory that Stalin made these super warriors or something. I don't know if I can, believe that or not. But there's all kinds of weird stories out there.
Well, I can definitely tell that you read a lot about it, because I've read the Stalin thing, I've read the Mount St. Helens thing, and they took the bodies away. I've heard that. And then I have some people, tell me about secret caves on military installations, like over by Mount Rainier, where the military is experimenting. I mean, you hear, you hear all of these things.
Government conspiracy theory and all of this.
Well, all of that. But I do agree. I do agree with you that at this point in time, a body is it will never. You could never say that we've proved definitively that Bigfoot exists until we actually have a body. Yeah. Now, how we're going to get one? Maybe find one that has passed away or something like that. But that leads me to the other question that is very, very controversial, and that is, would you shoot one just to prove it exists?
You know what?
I would have a hard time with that.
I hope so.
It's hard. If you see this thing and it's staring you down, and you put the scope on it, and they got such human-like eyes, and you'd really, I don't know if I could shoot it, For years, I just would not let anybody go up if they wanted to go up to my claim and hunt it and to shoot it. But now I have to look at it like, we got to prove that it exists. If we get a shot, we got to take it.
Excuse me?
If we get a shot, I think we got to shoot it, put it on a table, and get some blood samples, hair samples,
How about with a tranquilizer gun?
Yeah, that would work good.
Okay. 'Cause
Yeah. That would work.
I certainly would advocate shooting one just
I couldn't do
just to
it.
prove it exists.
Yeah.
I would not be against that. But you don't see a lot of people running around with tranquilizer guns either.
Well, yeah, I don't know how to get a tranquilizer
That
gun.
was one of the things that we'd included in our repertoire.
Yeah, well, you probably got tranquilizer guns.
I mean, that and a few other methods, but definitely, we carry firearms with us as well, but that's only for self-protection. The things that we're worried most about is
There's a lot
bear
of ways
attacks
I
and things
fear
like that.
man than I fear Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Human man himself, because of how we are in this world.
Hey, Mitch, what did you pony up on this? Well, I want to hear what you got to say.
Well, as far as capturing a Bigfoot, my thought is some sort of a drone type netting system, because drones are, this isn't just the little one you get at Best Buy, and like in your case, see, now you could probably do something like that because
He's got 3 drones.
Yeah, and so, it would take a lot of work getting to that point, but to me, that's what I'd like to see. Someone like yourself who has success drawing them in, they're drawn in, you maybe have some infrared something with the drones or whatever, and then they're spread way out, a big old netting type thing, and just drop it on them, and there you are. Then boom, tranquilize them, draw a blood sample. I prefer that method much more than shooting it. You're the way, especially now with the way you guys are describing them being so humanoid in it. I'm not a supporter.
Yeah, I don't think I could bring myself to it.
See, I really think that capturing one is feasible. It's all a matter of money.
Yeah.
Let's say Elon Musk, for example.
If
he decided that he wanted to prove that Bigfoot exists conclusively and wanted to capture one, he would devise a way to do it.
Yeah.
It really is a matter of money, I think. And nobody's either, wanted to step forward and really put together. We've looked, especially Larry Beans Baxter from Homer, a Sasquatch. We just brainstormed one time, and he's come up with a number of fabulous entrapment devices and different things like that could be developed. But it would cost a lot of money to do that. But if somebody ever wanted to, and these are non-lethal things. A number of ways we could do that. So, well, that's great. We're about out of time. Okay. Is there very briefly, is there anything else that's significant that you would like to share with the folks at home and us before we wrap things up?
Just basically, that footprint is one of 3 tracks that we took on the backside of 49 degrees north. And I still got to work on one track, and that other track just didn't turn out very good at all. But that track that I showed you, that's the best one I got so far.
Wonderful.
We just started, getting casts.
Yeah.
So I should have done that years ago.
Great. Well, we keep up the good work, and once again, thank you very, very much for coming on the show, and we look forward to hearing more about, about your research and what you've got going on, and, please keep us informed.
Yeah.
And also, for every guest that's on the show, we've got a gift for you for taking the time to come down from Chewelah today, and for each of you for being on the show. We have a complimentary Sasquatch field guide. I don't know if you've ever checked this out. It was produced by Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and it's about identifying tracks, sightings, North America's relic hominid. And I love this thing. It gives you a lot of good information on how to identify tracks and significant things to look at. So we have one of these for both of you, and hope you'll put it to good use.
Well, that just brings me up to another story, but we ain't got time.
Yeah.
So I don't want to save a lot. Stories for you, but this involves the Forest Service also, and
well, we'll take it up at another time. I'm sure we'll see you again.
There will be another time, that's for sure.
Another time. Well,
right
thanks
on,
again
guys.
for having for taking the time coming down here and being on the show, and that's all we've got right now, and we're gonna take a short break, and Mitch and I will be back to sum things up.
Okay, well, thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Well, welcome back, my friends. It's time to wrap up the show here with some ending comments about it. And since we had the pleasure of having Brent Thomas from Paranormal Portal here in the studio audience today, I thought he could join us for wrapping this up. Thanks a lot for coming, Brent.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm really honored to be here. It was really fun.
Glad to have you. What did you think of these guys?
I thought it was really interesting. I mean, they've it really they're very sincere, and they really have had some experiences at least. And I like that they're getting out there, they're researching, they're looking for it. I was really impressed.
Yeah, me too. Me too. He had some great stuff to say, and I really like his first encounter. That was an amazing one there.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so.
What do you think, Mitch?
Yeah, I'm serious. I want to go camping the first chance we get. I think it would be a hoot. It would just be very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to get up to that Pritchard area where he talked about it and the carrot cake and all that.
He's got a lifetime of experiences of what to do, and I just don't know if I have that much time left on this planet to figure out what he already knows. So I kind of want to tap into his experience.
Well, the most significant thing I got from the guy was the fact that he took the time to correspond back in the 80s with Jane Goodall. I mean, that to me, that's serious stuff. I never would have thought about that.
No.
I might not have, but I mean, I was telling him after, before they left, Jacques Cousteau, Jane Goodall, that's what I was able to watch on TV as a kid. And so you just hold those people in such high regard.
Yeah.
And then, of course, then she corresponded back. It just fits what your impression of her would be, of someone who would be very genuine. So,
Wonderful. Well, a great show. And, I have an announcement to make. Brent Thomas from Paranormal Portal is going to be filling in for me next week. Next Friday, our guest is going to be Nate Rudd, founder of the Washington, Idaho Bigfoot Search. And that ought to be a great episode because these guys have really been out there doing some stuff. They have some very compelling evidence. Looking forward to having them on the show. And until next week, once again, be well, my friends, and be kind to one another, and we'll see you next week.
There's a fable of a beast that once roamed this land. Some say still exists as a big tall ape man, standing over 8 feet tall, quite a sight to see. Living in the forest, he's quite a mystery. Bigfoot, Bigfoot, roaming through the land. Bigfoot, Bigfoot, a hairy ape-like man.